Hello, as you know, my name is Kainson Monoye. Today we are going to be discussing the third process under the project scope management knowledge area, and this is define scope. Previously, on the project scope management knowledge area, we discussed collect requirements, looked at the ITTOs, and we also looked at many of the explanation of these various tools and techniques used. We are not going to review everything. We are going to mention some of the ITTOs of the collect requirements. For the input, we have the output of the previous process. So we have the scope management plan, requirement management plan, stakeholder register, stakeholder management plan, and the project charter. We have various tools and techniques used to collect requirements, interviews, prototypes, benchmarking, group decision-making techniques, etc. And the output of the collect requirement is the requirement traceability matrix and also the requirement documentation. So today we are going to discuss define scope. What is define scope? According to the Pinball Guide, define scope is a process of developing a detailed description of the project and product. The key benefit of this process is that it describes the project or service or result boundaries by defining which of the requirements collected will be included in and excluded from the project scope. Alright, what are the inputs to define scope? Before I mention the input to the define scope, take note that since all the requirements identified in the collect requirements may not be included in the project, the define scope process selects the final project requirement from the requirements documentation delivered during the collect requirement process. It then develops a detailed description of the project and product, service, or result. The preparation of a detailed project scope statement is critical to project success and builds upon the major deliverables, assumptions, and constraints that are documented during project initiation. Alright, let's now look at the tools and the techniques as well as the inputs. We have 4 inputs: project management plan, project charter, requirements document, and organizational process assets. Tools and techniques are expert judgments, product analysis, alternative generation, facilitated workshops. And outputs are project scope statement and project document updates. So let's take a closer look at these ITTOs. Why do we need the scope management plan during the define scope process? The reason is because the scope management plan, which is a component of the project management plan, establishes the activities for developing, monitoring, and controlling the project scope. Why do we need the project charter as input to define scope? The project charter provides the high-level project description and product characteristics. It also contains project approval requirements. If a project charter is not used in the performing organization, then comparable information needs to be acquired or developed and used as a basis for the detailed project scope statement. Alright, why do we need requirements documentation for define scope? Because this documentation will be used to select the requirements that will be included in the project. Remember, we mentioned that not all requirements collected in the collect requirement process will eventually be used as part of the scope. And so, this documentation will be used to select the requirement that will be part of the scope to be selected from the requirement documentation. And of course, another input is the organizational process asset, which can also influence how the scope is defined. Some of them include policies, procedures, and templates for the project scope statement, project file from previous projects, lesson learned from previous phases of projects. Let's now zoom into the tools and the techniques. We have expert judgment, we've discussed before. It's used to analyze information needed to develop the scope statement. Such expert judgment is applied to any technical detail. Some of them include, or let's say some experts include consultants, stakeholders, professionals and technical associations, customers, sponsors, industry groups, subject matter experts. One important tool and technique used to define scope is alternatives generation. What is alternatives generation? Alternatives generation is a technique used to develop as many potential options as possible in order to identify different approaches to execute and perform the work of the project. A variety of general management techniques can be used, such as brainstorming, lateral thinking, analysis of alternatives, etc. So, alternatives generation has to do with other possible ways or approaches to execute a work. Why do we need it in defining scope? The reason is because we need to develop alternative approaches to doing the work in the scope, right? Then we also have facilitated workshops. We've discussed it. The participation of key players with a variety of expectation and of fields of expertise in this intensive working section helps to reach a cross-functional and common understanding of the project objectives and its limits. A facilitated workshop helps to gather relevant information. We also have product analysis. Product analysis includes techniques such as product breakdown, system analysis, requirements analysis, system engineering, value engineering, and value analysis. For projects that have a product or as a deliverable as opposed to service or result, product analysis can be an effective tool. So take note of the components: product breakdown, system analysis, requirements analysis, system engineering, value engineering, and value analysis. So these are the 4 tools and techniques used to define scope. The outputs of defined scope is project scope statement. A project scope statement is very important. It is a key output of the defined scope process. The project scope statement is the description of the project scope, major deliverables, assumptions, and constraints. The project scope statement documents the entire scope, including project and product scope. A little more on the project scope statement. The project scope statement describes in detail the project deliverable and also the work required to create these deliverables. It also provides a common understanding of the project scope among stakeholders. It may contain explicit scope exclusions that can assist the managing stakeholder expectation. It enables the project team to perform more detailed planning, guides the project team work during execution, and provides the baseline for evaluating whether requests for changes or additional work are contained within or outside the project boundaries. So sometimes you have to define what is part of the scope You also have to specifically say what is not part of the scope. For instance, in building construction project of a factory, part of the project scope statement may be this construction would not provide an overhead tank. So what it means, you also mention the exclusions. Okay? Yeah. Detailed project scope statement, either directly or by reference to other document, includes the following: product scope description, that is the characteristics of the product, service or result; acceptance criteria, the deliverable project exclusion as I explained, constraints and assumptions. Alright, so another output is project document update. Project document update can be updated. For instance, the stakeholder register might be updated along the line during the defined scope. Requirements document and also requirements traceability matrix may be updated. I want you to see the flow of ideas in the project scope management knowledge area. The first one, you want to plan the scope management. The next one, you want to collect requirements from stakeholders, plenty of requirements, what they want to be included. And then the next thing is you want to use these requirements collected to define exactly what is going to be the scope. So this is where we wrap it up on defined scope. And I hope this has been informative for you. If not, very okay. You can comment down there and I'll take note of your comment personally. I'd like to thank you very much for viewing. I want you to join me in my next video under the project scope management. And next we are going to be discussing Create WBS. Once again, my name is Kainson Munanye, and thanks again for watching.